They have done an amazing job in continually trying to fill the crew that have left because we lost the tax credit in 2012. So to them, kudos. And I think they are certainly something that other film communities could emulate regarding training. These are the sponsors that we have tonight. So you can see that, the Directors Guild of Canada, Bamboo Shoots, we've got local and we've got national sponsors for these presentations. So I hope some of you saw some of them that have gone on this week. And if you haven't, I mean, look at this. You can just click here to watch. There's a live link right there on demand to complete latex mask making. Like, look at JC, I know him. Look at the tats on that guy. Look at that mug. Like, who wouldn't want to learn how to do a face mask tutorial from him, hey? And then today I watched a bit of Brenda's thing live on Facebook, and that was priceless. I know Nancy, I saw that you had watched that yourself, and Brenda's just such a unique individual and such an incredible artist, and if there's a way for you to see it again, I'm assume that SMPIA will post it again. Watch it because it was absolutely spectacular. And then another great training thing tomorrow night. They got Brendan Hunter there. If any of you are interested in voiceover work in the industry, it's a Zoom, and I'm sure that's going to be really cool. So
where can we get more information about that?
Well, you would look at the SMPIA website at Saskatchewan Picture Industry Association.
Oh, what is the URL? Sorry.
We'll put that in the chat. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd asked you last night, those of you that attended last night, things about you, because it helps me sort of shape the direction, really. I mean, I know this is a keynote or a PowerPoint that I've prepared, but I can shape sort of some of the slides towards you. I'm curious, is there anything last night that stood out, that you enjoyed, that you'd like to know more about?
I wasn't here last night. Can you just kind of go over the basics that we went over last night?
I'll let Barbara address that, please, and thank you. Barbara, okay. Are you able to do that? Is that Jeff?
Oh, no, this is Emma.
Me. Oh, Emma. Emma, what did you ask me?
So basically, I wasn't here last night, and I just wanted to get the basic ideas of what you guys were talking about.
Emma, how about we do that in an email, or you could watch the video when it's available, because that way we won't take up everybody else's time.
Okay.
Go through though your first day on a film set. We looked at background, especially how to get in as an extra, and we looked at a lot of production assistant positions, internship positions. And tonight we'll look at. Can
I talk about my experience as an extra? I did it one time. I was in a commercial.
So we'll move on. Let's move on. Pictures up. Let's talk about. Tonight, on-set paperwork that you really should be familiar with, and certainly about accounting. The production report. I want you to we're just going to go over the call sheet, the production report, the deal memo, and certainly I want to make sure that you know how to get paid. Just 1 minute here. Oops. So this here is our call sheet. I've got two call sheets to show you. One here on my left it's called Behind the Wall, and that is a template that I created. And then the one on the right is, or on my right, is called End of Days. It's a show I shot in the 90s with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I just want to introduce you to this document and just do a side-by-side comparison, just to show you sort of break it down, what the information means.
Wait, because who is the film made with?
You as a crew member will have to be able to read this to know exactly what's going on. And most people on their first day of work, they just get handed this document. They don't.
So
they don't
what is this all about?
Things mean.
Like, I dished a lot of this, and I have no clue what is happening. This is like. This is like.
Thank you, Barbara. So the top half of the call sheet, it's here. If you can go follow me along here at the top, on my top left at least, you've got the production office called Behind the Wall. You've got a list of the producers, list of the line producers, so sort of the people that have made this thing possible. And you've got the address, the physical address where mail can go. In the center of my call sheet, you've got the date. You've got day 18 to 25. I know for many of you that have worked on a set, this is common knowledge. But for those of you that are unaware, it's stuff that I certainly didn't know when I started out. Day 18 of 25. So we've got 25 days of shooting. Our crew call is 8 o'clock. We're going to hook to roll camera by 8:45, which is a discussion that happens between department heads. We have pre-calls, which mean that certain departments need to get there early to get their stuff out of the vehicles, and then to be able to push it to the set, and then be able to set it up and get ready for the blocking. So that's why we have those. And we've got notes down there at the bottom. And on the far side of it, I'm just going to see if I can get out of this screen. Oops, I can't do that. I've got Ron Brandt staring me in the face, and I just can't get you out of my screen there, Ron.
Oh, you know, I've got this certification, but I'm here to watch you do this. I want to see you do this.
So on the far side of that call sheet that I can't see, but I know is there, I've got the lunchtime that we're going to eat. And I've also got in there the weather, so that you can look the night before at this call sheet and say, okay, it's going to rain tomorrow. And I figured out how many people are going to eat. I figured out also when the sun is going to rise and when it's going to set, and if there's a hospital nearby in case we have to go to the hospital. So that gives you a general idea. It's kind of like the letterhead of a call sheet. This is the end of days call sheet. It's much more condensed, right? Not as much blah, blah, blah. Still gives similar information. Here, it's kind of a little blurry, of course. I don't know why I did that, but this is the second half of that call sheet. If you'd like, how about I do this? Here's the idea that Kenny had, and I totally forgot about. This slide here, why don't you all, can you do a screenshot of that? And then maybe you could refer to it as I flip through. I'll give you 5 seconds to do a screenshot of that. If you don't, if you do, if you do, if you don't, if you don't. But it might help. Ron Brandt, I can tell you're doing nothing.
Pardon me? Kenny? What was that?
I was saying you can do a screenshot.
Oh, I can't on this machine. I just got new glasses and I can't do it, but that's okay. I've got those. I've read these before.
Okay. So in this section of a call sheet, what you're going to find is if you follow me along on scene 89, you'll understand you've got the scene number, you've got the day, like day 12, which is the day in the script, right? Not the day of shooting, but the day in the script and the storyline. I've got interior, exterior, Sean's Camaro, which means it's shooting through and inside the car. It's on a process trailer, which is that trailer that we put the car on so that the actors can actually not drive but act. It has the cast numbers listed there. It has how many BG we have. It has all other stuff there. So that gives you the scenes that we're shooting and the order that we're shooting them in. And I'll typically take the scene elements and I'll put them in there right below so that any department that you're in, say you're in the, say you're a makeup artist or say you're in the camera department, there's notes there that you can look at and go, oh, we need that for that scene. And this is the same version, but the bigwigs with the $60 million movie, this is what their AD does. Same type of information, right? You've got the scene listed there. You've got the title for it. You've got the scene number. You've got the cast members, day, night, pages. Same similar information. This is the interesting part I find in creating these documents, but so that you know how to read it. And you'll need to know this section if you're in the costume department or makeup department or wardrobe department, prop department. You'll see when the actor, we've ID'd her as number 1. And you can see when she's working and when she's being picked up and when she's got to be in hair and makeup, hair and wardrobe, those notations above there. And down below that, I've got the stand-ins in the background when they're coming in. I got that SD there means self-drive, means we don't have to pick them up. Over here on the other side where it says 1 PD and 5 PD under the stand-ins, that means photo double. And the character's name, often to save on ink pollution, we just use their first name. But one thing that you should all be familiar with are these little abbreviations that we use that are common lingo in the film industry, such as these. And I would screenshot that if you could. So when you read when you read this part of the document, you understand if actors are traveling or not traveling or working or not. And then usually when I build this, just so you're aware, I have a key hair artist and a key makeup artist, and they've got an assistant. And I have to juggle, like with this many background, I wouldn't hire extra hair and makeup artists. They would go in the trailer with the lead actors, but I have to juggle all that around. And so to read that, that's sort of what that part of it is all about. Here's a similar thing. This was the Arnold Schwarzenegger show. He would have been picked up at 5:45 a.m. He would have been in makeup at 6. He would have been set 7. So similar idea. Buddy Joe Hooker down there, the utility stuntman. Wow, look him up. He is one classy dude. He's been around for a long, long time. That was done in like 1998. And then there's an advanced schedule at the bottom of your call sheet, and it'll just show you what's going to happen the next day and the day after that in terms of shooting. And then at the bottom, you'll see if you need any phone numbers of the key people that can address most issues, they'll be listed at the bottom of your call sheet as well. Is there any questions that in the chat room, Barbara, regarding the call sheet, the front side of it?
I don't have any questions in the chat right now. Everybody can hear Kenny okay, correctly? Correct?
Can you put up your thumbs if you can hear me? All right.
Good. I think all the hackers have been taken care of. I apologize for that.
Oh, that has thrown me for a loop. Oh, anywho, I gotta let that one go. Gotta be calm in my little place here. So this is the back of the call sheet, right? And this is where you're gonna find your name. And under that column that says call is where you're gonna find your call time. OC, well, I'll go through this line by line here. If I just flip to the next slide, we'll see it closer. But you can see the different departments, right? On my call sheets, I try to put the channels of the walkie-talkie that you could reach these departments on. Because oftentimes, everybody has at least one member of their team on channel 1 or 2. Well, I mean on channel 1 for sure. But then they have their own private channel. But OC means on call, and yeah, there's the rest of them there. And this call sheet, if you look down there, like some of you, start asking questions if you wish. Like the catering, let's look at that. It says Evolve Catering with Andy and Kevin, 70 breakfasts, hot and ready at such and such, and drivers, and 70 crew lunches. So when I create this call sheet, every day the number of people that are coming to our set, I have to know about. And I'm speaking to you as a second assistant director who creates this. And you're a production assistant that helps me get this information. But I have to count how many people are coming to set that day, including actors and stand-ins and extras and crew and producers and their wives and directors and their whole entourage. So I have to figure that out and then order about 10% more, and that's how that's done. Now, can anybody answer me why some of these guys would be coming in at 6:30 and why some would be coming in at 7? Like, why would the grips come in at 6:30 and the electrics come in at 7?
You guys have to unmute yourself to answer.
Oh yeah, you can all unmute now because I think we're good. I hope we're good.
So they don't bump into each other
So they don't bump into each other.
on the set?
Often with the grips is they take down the equipment that the electrics have to hang a light on. They got to get their grip equipment out. They've got to get it staged. And then when the lights come in, then so usually there's a staggered call. There are often more than that. They need to black out a window. So we don't need the electricians there for that because, yeah, we're blacking out windows. So that's often the thing to do. And you can see, if you look at the camera department, the guys that need to take the camera gear off the truck, wheel it across the parking lot, down into an elevator and down to the set, they usually need 45 minutes to an hour to get all that kind of stuff right. It just kind of makes sense, right? It's common sense, but if you're not in the business, you don't know that. And so these times you go over with each of these departments every day.
Kenny, can you go back just a few slides to where you had the terms, like what, where they were defined? Because someone wanted to take a screenshot.
Where they were defined.
I think that's the shot that they wanted. Is that what
Okay.
you wanted, Adri? If you can speak up.
I know I take a picture.
Okay.
I
I'm
can
gonna-
just have, I could just have, in the follow-up, have Kenny take a screenshot of this and attach it to everybody. That way you have it.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. I have no idea where I was. Let's see here. You think we're here? I think we're here. Yeah, please screenshot as we go along, by all means. Okay, so there you go. So that's what the back of the call sheet is. And at the bottom of the call sheet in Canada, you're going to have the representatives of the different unions, so you know who on set you can go to if you have a labor dispute or an issue. And then this is interesting too. If you're going to be a production assistant, whether you're in locations in the States, whether you're in the AD department in the States or Canada here, that little red Sharpie is a good thing to have in your little kit. Because usually at the end of the night, when the call sheet's been printed and we realize that we can't do the time of 9 a.m. because we'll put people into what's called a forced call. And I won't get into that in this presentation, but it just means money and a penalty. We have to push the call. And so instead of reprinting a bunch of call sheets, the PAs just come out with their red Sharpies and a guy's got a stamp there and he or she is stamping away. And you guys are crossing out and putting 9:30. And that goes across the board. So just a little tip in terms of equipment that's good to have. And yeah. And then there's the call sheet there. I thought I brought one with me. But this is just another little Dutch Uncle Kenny tip. This is the way I hold my call sheet in my sides in my back pocket. And the call sheet is usually an 8x14. So I just fold it in half and then accordion it in. And then I take my sides and I fold my sides in half. And then I just put the two of those together. Right? And then it just fits into my pocket. And when you do that, it just makes it easier to read, really easy to read when you open it up. So just a little tip for you there. And this is what's called a production report. And you'll probably, you'll see this if you work in the production office, of course. You'll see this if you kind of, not as a PA, but you will see this in the AD department, of course, because we create most of it. But as a PA, you'll be gathering information that goes on here. And it's good for you to know what this is, regardless what position you work in the crew, because it's kind of like the cost report, not with the number and the dollar signs attached, but the numbers that come before that, so to speak. So we're going to go through that. I've got two there. One is from, the one called Spartan was a really cool show I did. That was with Val Kilmer and William H. Macy. You can see them down in the credits down there. And, but I'm going to go with a few of them. I'm just going to do the same thing if I can, just walk you through what this is. So similar to the call sheet, these are both of these two production reports. They list the similar information, right? The number of days that we're going to be shooting, what the show is called, who the producers are, where the main office is, how many days first unit is shooting, how many days second unit is shooting, if we're ahead of schedule or behind schedule. And then as you look down, it'll show you, this is filled in. What time was crew call for today? When was the first shot after lunch? What was the first shot of the day? Like when we actually first rolled camera. So that kind of information. These kind of things are, when did the grips go out? When did they go out? They went out in 1948. This is kind of information that comes to me as a second AD from my PAs, which is what you would be doing. You'd be running the trucks and gathering most of this information. Here is just it's just a breakdown of how many scenes. This is script supervisor gives us this, how many scenes we've shot today, how many we have to go, how many need to be completed, did we omit anything? All of that's taken care of by one person. It's amazing. This is just what's used for camera. This would have been Spartan on the bottom when we had film back in the day. So it's the different speed stocks, how many feet we had.
Control. Take one.
Lanza, is this how you guys do it? The one on top?
No, we have a different system because we have about 40 to 50 cameras rolling at any given time. So it's kind of hard to list all of that in one document.
What show are you on now?
Still on Survival.
Still on Survival.
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing that?
About 6 years now.
6 years he's been on the show Survival. Wow. Okay. This is awesome. The other section of the production report here is just listing our actors. right? Jason Isaacs, India Isley at the top, their character name, when they started work that day, their call time, hair, makeup, more. So it's kind of like a section from the call sheet almost, but more details filled in there. Down at the bottom, we had Val Kilmer in that day, and Derek Luke and William H. Macy when they went through hair, makeup. All of that is tracked, right? Because they're all paid per hour, and it's us as or a daily rate. But it comes through us as PAs in the AD department, this kind of information. This is the bottom of the production report. The top one I've got there, it's the background performers, how many came in that day, what their rate was. The top one that you see, the SSE stands for Specially Skilled Extra, so they get more money, they get paid more. SI is a stand-in. A BP is a basic background performer. And then an EX, so this is in Canada, extra would be considered a non-union performer. That means they don't get paid as much, so the pay grade is going down there. And then the bottom one is the extras that we had in on Spartan. Same similar thing, but I'm just giving you this as an idea of how it's all tracked. This is the back of a production report. It looks very similar to a call sheet, but if you look close at it, it also has a second column there when everybody went out. So then the accountant can just punch in these digits and figure out how much everybody's making. And at the bottom there, you'll see there's notes. And that's if the camera went down, if we had a malfunction with lighting or something, anything that's going to cost the company money. So it's a cost report, but it's good for you to have one of those at the end of every, it's good for you to have the production report from every day that you work on a union show, and you can get that from your production office at the end of the season or possibly episode, or if you want to every week if you ask them, because it's not a financial document per se. They know that you need that to prove you work on it. Anyways, and then this is another thing that we put together, we hand in, and that's for the producers to look at. So I want to make sure you know how to get paid, because I've done that show that I mentioned last night where you work and then you don't get paid, and it's because you didn't know that you're supposed to fill out a thing called a deal memo. So this here is in Canada, we use this, but across, they would have it in Fiji, they would have it in Canada, they would have it in the US. You get a deal memo. It's every show that you start on, because every production starts and then dissolves, right, with each show. So you're being hired by this production company for this. You'll fill out this deal memo, and you're going to list common things, right, who you are. Social security number, social insurance number, your address, your phone numbers, all that kind of stuff. If you belong to a union, do you have a kit rental, which means are they going to give you a rental because you're bringing or providing the craft service truck, right? They rent equipment from crew members as well, hey? So you'll fill out one of those, and you're also going to fill out what we call a res deck form. So if you're in Portland, Oregon, Oregon has a tax credit. The only way the producer can grab that tax credit is if they hire local. Any questions? So make sure you fill out a deal memo. And I think I mentioned this last night. It's the culture that we live in to call up your buddy and say, hey, I ain't working. Do you have anything? Or keep me on the hook if you know something's coming in. Or hey, what's the rate? Or hey, I need a deal memo. That kind of language is common and accepted. So don't be afraid to ask for that. This is how you tell time in the film industry. We tell it with military time, and we do it in 6-minute increments. So, and this is what you write on your timesheet at the end of the night. And this is how we do it on a call sheet as well. So that instead of saying 7:00, you'd have people coming in at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So you do military time, and the military time is very easy to do. You just add 12 to the number, right? So if it's 1 p.m., you add 12, it's 13. It's very simple. But the part that trips up a lot of people is how we tell time with minutes. But see, there's 6 minutes, there's 60 minutes in a minute, right? So you divide that by 6, and you've got 10 increments. So if you look at the bottom there, if you're wrapped at 10:39, your input on your time card would be 22 for 10 o'clock. And then 39, well, you round that up to 42 because that's in that, right? So your out time is 22.7. Does everybody see how that works? Is that as clear as mud? It's when you think about it, it's kind of makes sense. It's pretty easy because all you have to figure out is that those numbers on that far side. And then you'll get a daily hot sheet. So if you're part of the camera crew and you're the PA for the camera crew, you might be in charge of this, or on the grip truck, you might be the truck person. and every night, at least on my shows, I have one of these, and it's a try copy. And the crew, let's say the grip crew, the one person puts in everybody's names, their in times and their out times, and then I get a copy, he gets a copy, and I send one off to the production office. And that's a daily hot sheet. But you yourself, you're going to fill out a crew timesheet. Now, if you work on the electric truck, grip truck, or even list and makeup and hair, the assistant will probably fill out the time sheet for that key head, and then they'll just sign off on it, that key head. But that's a crew time sheet. Same information at the top, kind of thing. So in real life, if I did this in Fiji, which I've done once, I'd love to go back, and I've done it in the States, and I'd love to go back. We'll see what happens with this whole virus thing, but we would do a telling time and a timesheet exercise. These are a couple things that you should know, though, when it comes to the protocol of accounting. Your time cards here, at least in Canada and the US, are always due at the end of the week. We use military time. The great thing about getting paid in the industry is over here, at least in North America, you get paid every Thursday. So you get a paycheck every week. And so that's a really cool thing yeah, I've always loved that about the industry. Keep this in mind about production. Like there's 1,000 people on your crew, or 600 on your crew, or 100 on your crew. Mistakes happen. So if you feel like your timesheet isn't reflected on your check, you talk to them with kind voice. Petty cash, you're going to be using a lot of petty cash, whether you're in the costume department, if you're in definitely set deck, art department. The ADs don't typically use it. Camera will probably use it. But there's a protocol for your petty cash. Your petty cash, you don't put out of pocket your own. They'll give you money. The production does. You just have to keep track of it and show them how you spent it. And then they'll approve that. So clearly, if you put on this document that you bought cigarettes and booze, good chance they're going to probably kick it back. But how we do it over here is simply like this. You've got a piece of paper, and you put on your receipts, you number them, you circle the date and where it was, and then you just simply transfer it to this envelope, and that's called a petty cash envelope. You slip all of those inside. Now there's a couple of things that you should know about this. One is I would always take a photocopy of this, because if it gets lost in accounting, between accounting and the production manager, it's you, right, that they're coming for. So it's good to take photocopies, and also never lick it, like never seal it, because they want to get in there. So of course, if we were in real life, right, COVID, we would do a petty cash exercise. I got to take a break here.
Hey, Ken.
Yes.
So in working in accounting, some things I've seen people do that they really need to know to not do. Never put cash back in the petty cash envelope and leave it in an inbox, because it could be gone and you're still responsible for it. And we don't pay parking tickets.
No, really? Wow. What kind of things have
you cover? If you get a parking ticket, you're on your own.
What kind of things have you seen turned in or tried to be turned in?
Oh, a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. I mean, and before COVID, it was always, you have to have the original receipt, and not photocopies. And people would, end up putting in receipts in their petty cash envelope that they used with their P card, and it's already been charged on their P card, and then they're trying to claim it back on the petty cash envelope. So you got to keep your receipt together. But with the whole COVID thing, I mean, everything is going to go digital. It's digital start work, digital time cards. It's going to be, scanned receipts submitted. It's just a different world when we're all back up and running.
Yeah. Thank you. The action I'd like you to take. You can go to our website and have a section called Forms, and you can download various templates that are in Word or Excel, so you don't have to create yourself and play around with it, or you can Google it. I think, take these little tiny steps. Oh, hey, look at that. That's what it looks like. I've put up all of as many as I can, assisting directing forms. There's some script supervision forms. Man, if I had somebody that was in the camera department in Fiji, and he had some forms. Boy, I'd put them up on there. Anyways, yeah, you should go there because you can download some good forms there. My Dutch Uncle Kenny tip. There's a lot of egos in the film business, so use it to your advantage. Like ask questions, right? Be humble, be gracious, because people like to talk about themselves, and when you get them talking about themselves, you get to learn a lot about the film industry, right? So, I mean, that's how I sort of moved my way into where I wanted to be. Right, just being very friendly and very open with people and asking questions. Just the tales from the field here, just to end that section. I did this show called Rendition. We had Reese Witherspoon and Meryl Streep, and we had Jake Gyllenhaal. And this was a situation where Reese had she had just divorced from this guy, Ryan Felipe. I don't know if any of you know these actors. Yeah, I'm sure you know most of them. Anyway, so she was there were, you know, paparazzi around quite a bit when we were filming. And it's very distressing to an actress who's trying to work and can never get away from paparazzi. We were filming a scene in on Figueroa in LA downtown at a restaurant, and the grips had gone in early and blacked everything out. It was a night scene, but we're filming in the day. A restaurant scene, intimate between the two characters. And in the film industry, Reese, all lead actors have a stand-in that the production hires, but the more famous you are, that stand-in might become part of your entourage if you really like that person. They look like you. They have a, you know. Anyways, Reese had this one stand-in who was a spitting image of Reese. I did double takes many times. My point to all of this is we were filming at the restaurant, and I came outside in the sunlight, in the LA sunlight, and I looked across the street at the parkade. And there were these big black SUVs, and there were the paparazzi, you know, just gaggled there, hey? And I looked at my watch. We were about half an hour away from lunchtime. And so I kind of knew that what would happen when we broke for lunch, Reese would step out on the sidewalk. We'd, of course, have a vehicle there to pick her up and take her to base camp. But I knew that then, you know, as soon as that happened, there'd be a lot of ugliness there. And so I was just a PA, right? And a PA for most productions, they feel, you know, they're a dime a dozen. But really, a good PA is worth their weight in gold. Lonzo will tell you this, I'm sure, because you've been a camera PA. You do so much behind the scenes. But this was like one of those things where it made me unforgettable, but nobody noticed, right? And or very few did. But this was a case where I looked at Reese's stand-in, and in this particular moment in her life, she also had a security guard that walked with her at all times, even on set, which is really odd because a set is usually a very safe place. But so she had a security guard that was always with her. So I went up, make a long story short, I went up and I told the two of them what was going on outside, and I said, hey, listen, I'm going to have a vehicle pull up. It's half an hour from lunch. In 10 minutes, let's whisk out the stand-in. I think her name is Julie. Let's whisk her out, and you'll rush her and all these paparazzi. Hopefully they'll take off and follow her. And then when we break for lunch, of course. So that's what happened, which was wonderful. Oh, good. Jolene is going to enter, Barbara. So the end of this is that's exactly what happened. Is we broke for lunch. First off, this whole thing happened. We put the coat over the girl. She was rushed out by the security. The car pulled up. They threw her in the car. All the paparazzi started going off, and then they followed the vehicle down to what was base camp. It wasn't. The guy just kept going past base camp, right, with this girl. And then we broke for lunch, and Reese walked out onto the sidewalk, a beautiful sunny day, talked to the crew a little bit. There was the vehicle. She jumped in it, and away she went. So it was, and you know, nobody really knew what went on just before that except myself and the transport people. But those are the kind of cool things that you do. You know, you seek out those kind of moments that make lives better. So, any questions, thoughts, or concerns before I move on to walkie-talkies?
Don't lose them.
Don't lose them. Jolene, you've entered the building, and Jolene is from SMPIA. And Jolene, we had a little kerfuffle at the beginning of this presentation with hackers, but we're all good now. Are you with us? Maybe she's not.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh,
I'm muted, okay?
Oh, okay.
Just to let you know. So yeah,
Do you want to say anything, Jolene, to these folks?
Not right now, I don't. Because I just joined. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
Hey, Jolene.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Now look what you started, Kenny.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, go on, go on.
So we're going to talk about walkie-talkies, because walkie-talkies is your lifeline, your line of communication, and it's the first thing that's going to get you fired if you don't know how to use the thing. This is a great exercise to do live with you folks.
I'm trying to find the volume on my computer, but it's not here. It's supposed to be down.
So I keep hearing things like I'm going nuts, but I want to show you how to physically use it, and then a little bit about some walkie-talkie lingo, because it's quite important to get your handle on this. Now, this is just an aside. I learned this when I was 42, 43, believe it or not, how to listen. Oh, surprise, surprise. I'm 50 now. But for those of you that aren't aware of this, I think this, or even if you are, just it helps to hear it again. Because we're talking about walkie-talkies, because communication is so important in today's world, especially in the film industry. I've learned that there are these types of listeners, and I think we've all experienced them in our lives. We've all experienced the non-listener, the person that you have a conversation with, and you can tell they're just off in space somewhere else, yeah? You nod your head if you wish. You've all probably had the conversation with 2 or 3 of you in a group, and one of the people is a topper. They're always, you know, they're going to interrupt your story, and they're going to top it with one better than yours. Maybe you're one of those people. I don't know. You know, then there's the content listener. That, you know, as you walk past them, they say, "Hey, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh man, I'm okay." And they're like, "Oh, great," and they keep walking because they've heard the words, but that's it. And then there's the active listener, which we all kind of think we are, but we all strive to do better, I think, especially myself. And that's the person that actually, you know, hears the nuances in your voice as you walk by. I think if you can be that kind of a person on a film set, that's one of my tips in terms of protocol and etiquette and getting you to go further in the industry, is just listening and communicating well. So this is a walkie-talkie, and I've got 2 of them with me. Let me run through these slides, and then I can, I guess, demonstrate them. They look often like this. They still use these Motorola's in pretty much every jurisdiction, and they work very well. They're like a workhorse. So get familiar with these walkies is, I guess, the point to having one in your hand. And you can get them at any rental store, right? Usually phone stores will rent these. But the production office will rent these for you. Please, you don't have to go out and buy them. But there are a few things that you might want to buy. These are some of the tools that I have in my kit, and I'll show you how they all piece together here. This here is a surveillance headset, and you can buy these online quite easily at eBay. You know, I'd spend probably, if you know, get a good one, 50, 60 bucks, maybe 80 bucks. I wouldn't get this until you've been on a set maybe for about 2 or 3 months and you understand the discomfort of the Burger King or the Madonna that usually we get rented because they're cheap, right? Make sure this is what you want to do for a living, or you want to invest in, because this is one of your key investments. But that's yeah, so that's a surveillance headset. You've seen them on surveillance people many times, I'm sure. This is a walkie holster. If you're in the costume department, if you're going to be working in the grip department, makeup department, that's a good thing to have, just because you're going to be climbing in and out of trucks, you're going to be hauling stuff around, art department too. And that keeps that walkie from falling off. The only thing that supports that walkie, excuse me, is the little clip on the back of the walkie-talkie on your belt. And that, if that comes crashing down, so does your walkie, and you're responsible for it, is I guess my point. Just here's responsible for it in the sense that these little buggers cost upwards of $1,500. And so my accounting department's going to come to me at the end of the show, if after I've turned them in as a walkie PA, and tell me, hey, you know, or the production office will tell me, not the accounting. They'll tell the accounting will tell the production office how much it costs. But each one, how much is lost, and they'll ask you, you know, you got to track these down. So anyways, when I hand out walkies, I make sure that there's a label on it, the person's name is on it. I as a walkie PA, I keep a dime in my pocket because oftentimes with these headsets, you've got to screw them into the unit itself. And if you're handing out walkies, people are going to be asking you, you know, to screw in the headset. So have that dime available, or even a little Leatherman, right, that we spoke about last night. This is a 6-bank walkie charger. So on a camera truck, on a grip truck, on a prop truck, on an electric truck, you'll find one of these. And the gals and guys will put their walkies in there at the end of the night to recharge. So just, this is just to be familiar with when you walk on these vehicles. This here is a single bank charger. Usually the craft service will have a single bank because there's usually only 2 of them on the team. Props, maybe we'll have 1 or 2 of these. Then you'll also see one of these on set, and it's provided by one of the PAs, the walkie PA in the AD department. So there's another thing, write that down. If you want to get in the department, this lingo. This is, we put batteries in there, and we usually stick it at the video village at the monitor, so that when you run out of juice, you can easily go get a battery. You don't have to chase down to the PA. And you just throw your dead ones in there. I used to like to put these envelopes in there, and I put the sides in there for the day and the call sheets, and then nobody would harass me on set for that kind of crap. They just know where it was. So anyways, that's a battery box. A good thing for you to know. And then some walkie lingo. Some of my favorites are there. Copy that is just ensuring that the person that asked you a question on the walkie heard you, right? Going to 2 means you're going to channel 2. What's your 20? Where are you? The chit chat channel's kind of like channel 2. Although I like to have channel 2 and channel 3 as chit chat because people like to talk. They're one-way communication, these things. So when one person's talking, the other person can't. And if they try to, it's all back to 1 tells me that I have to go back to channel 1. Like when I'm having a conversation with Ron Brandt on the walkie and we're on channel 2, after we finish talking, it's just common courtesy to say, okay, back to 1. That tells the other person, oh, right, I got to switch. Switching is another term, right? If you're on channel 1 and you say, hey, Ron, can you go to channel 2? He'll just say switching. Going to 2. 10:20 means I'm in the bathroom. I would rather say, if I asked you what's your 20, you said 10:20, that's probably preferable over, hey, I'm dropping the kids off at the pool. Getting stepped on is that lingo where, because it's a one-way device, both of you are hitting the button at the same time. Everybody else on their walkies, they hear this, but you don't know. So as soon as the stops, somebody goes, hey, you got stepped on. Queuing is horrible. That's when there's a headset that's plugged into your walkie and it becomes dislodged, but you don't know it's become dislodged. And being dislodged, it cues your walkie and nobody can break in because you don't know. So they hear everything you're doing. So like chewing your sandwich, talking to your buddy, dissing the director's shot, that kind of stuff I've heard many times. And then eavesdropping is something else. Be familiar with that. Like you can eavesdrop when everybody does it. It's just, I'm saying it's an industry sort of norm that say the base camp AD calls the first AD on set to go to channel 2. I guarantee you the wardrobe, grip, they're all turning to channel 2 to hear what's going on back in base camp. But so saying that, channel 2 and 3, the chit chat channel, it's meant to be professional, right? You keep it short and sweet and don't talk about last night, what you did at the bar, because people are eavesdropping. And eavesdropping is power, right? Knowledge is power. When you open up one of these things, they've got a serial number on it. And so you're going to be given a walkie-talkie by the walkie PA, regardless what department you're in. But hey, listen, if you're an intro into this industry, this is a great gig to put your hand up for, is to be the walkie person. So you get all these walkies and you just have to categorize them, right? Put down that serial number, and then as you hand them out, put the person's name and they sign it. And you do that on the first day of shooting. And then they keep the walkie for the rest of the show. And they know it's their walkie. And they know if they lose it, they're going to get a call from Michelle. Michelle's going to say, hey, buddy, you owe us $1,500. You can put this label on it, right? Put their name on it so that I know that I'm always walkie number 4. Oh, hey, so let's go through these. Barbara, are you there? Can you unplug?
I'm here.
Can you do 2 things at once?
I'll try.
Here's the script, okay? I've got a walkie in your make-believe mind, and you've got a walkie in your make-believe mind. This is how we do it virtually, you guys. So I'm going to push the button and I'm going to say, hey, Barbara, do you have a copy? And you're going to say,
Copy.
copy? What, can you read the script on the screen?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm old. I have to get the other glasses on.
Hey, Janice, you want to help me? Come on, Janice.
Sure, sure. What would you like?
All right, Janice. Hey, Janice, do you have a copy?
Go for Janice? Or do I say go for
Yeah.
Kenny? Okay.
Yeah. So go for means, hey, I heard you. Go ahead, talk to me. I say, hey, I have to call a cast member. Can you cover me, Janice?
Copy that, Kenny.
Yes. Copy that means she heard me. She knows what she's doing. Yada, yada, yada. I say, hey, it's Kenny here. I need a walkie check. Oh, sorry. That's your spot, Janice. Sorry.
Yes, too. All right, this is Janice. I need a walkie check.
Good check, Janice, meaning that she's come over, she's asked for a good check. I've heard her, I push the button and I say, good check, Janice. Now, hey, listen, there's a thing about these walkies. You got to push that button. I would like push it and hold it and go, and then I would talk on the thing because it's a mechanical device, right? And if you don't do that, it like clips off the first part of your yada, yada, yada. So push it in, pause, and then speak. Okay, here we go. We're going to try another one here. It's me. I say, hey, Janice, when will Angelina be ready?
Go to channel 16, please, Kenny.
Okay, so we're going to switch to channel 16. Now, the secret thing about channel 16 is the AD department will always have a channel that nobody else can listen to except the 3 or 4 of them for sensitive information. And this is what happened on a show I did in Iowa with our actress who had just had a baby. So we switched to 16, and I say, go for Kenny.
Angelina is nursing and will be another 25 minutes.
No worries. Please let her know the set will be ready and standing by when she is available. Let me know when you are traveling.
Copy that. Back to 1.
Back to 1. She's reminding me to go back to 1. And the whole thing is that kind of a conversation you don't want to have on channel 2 or channel 3 because everybody's going to be listening. This is sensitive information about the actor. So it's a good thing to know that in the AD department, there'll always be a channel assigned to them that nobody can hear. Hey, here's another one. Hey, Janice, do you have a copy?
Go for Kenny.
I'm Kenny. You're Janice.
Oh.
I'm Kenny.
Oh, well, I'm listening.
Janice, do you
okay,
have
go
a
for
copy?
Janice. Go for Janice.
Okay. How many cars are there on set? How many do you have in your back pocket?
Stand by, please. Checking.
So standing by means, hang on, Kenny, let me go figure this out. I say standing by. And then she says,
Kenny, do you have a copy?
go ahead, Janice.
I have 25 cars on set and 6 in my back pocket.
I go on the walkie. I say, copy that. Can you have 2 drive around to the Bleecker Street entrance and have them roll through frame after Jason crosses with the dog?
Copy that, Kenny. I'll let you know when they're in place.
Awesome. And then these are other phrases. Things like locations come back, which means usually there's one key location person on set, and they know that that is coming from probably the first AD saying, hey, I need you. So come back. Go for locations in which the instructor, oh, sorry, Janice, I blew you over there. So I'll try it again. Locations, come back.
Go for locations.
We have sprinklers that have come on and need to be turned off. Can you help us with this?
Flying in.
Flying in. And so that means that she's heard and she's coming in. So this is other stuff that you would know and you would see in the manual. And if you want more, I can send you more. But it's just great to understand the communication that goes on with these things and how they physically work. I'm going to get out of this big screen and get me, am I in the center? Oh no, I'm going to stop screen share for a second. Okay, great, I'm here. So this is the walkie, right, what it looks like. I just wanted to show you all this, if you could look closely. On the bottom of most of these walkies, there's a little tab there that you pull down. You pull that little tab down and the brick, as it's called, comes out. And then it slides back into that slot. And it's kind of really important to get that tight. When you turn on the walkie, it'll make that beeping noise. And that beeping noise is kind of important for many reasons. When the battery's getting dead, it'll go beep, 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 just like that. So you'll know, hey, you know, I gotta get a new battery. And then as you turn the channels, you'll have other people talking, but when it's not frequenced, you'll get that annoying noise. These antennas come off, and they still work, just not, they don't go very far. So they're pretty basic, but they're worth like $1,500. And you don't want Michelle breathing down your neck. So make sure when you get a walkie that you, you take care of it. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to screen share. Somehow, there we go. There we go. There we go. So, you guys have any questions?
Kenny, someone has asked how you can tell what channel you are on.
Well, on the walkie-talkie itself, I'm going to try and get closer, but you can't see it because I'm small. But it's dialed, right? It's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's numbered, and it clicks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as you go around. It's not pre-programmed to tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I've ever had. But that's how you can tell what channel you're on. So the action I want you to take is go and make a cool battery box. Like in an interview, you know, if I'm hiring PAs and I'm in the AD department or even locations department, if that's in your kit, and I knew that, that's a good thing. And I mean, they're like $8. Go to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. You can get one of those little painting kits, paint it up real cool on each side. Yeah, it's a great little gig to have, great little thing to have. My Dutch Uncle Kenny tip to you is this works much better when I'm in front of a live audience. But I ask, you know, what's one of the most important or valuable things that a person owns? And I ask that question sincerely because I want to see if people actually listen. And this whole section has been about walkies and communication. I remember names very well because when I talk to somebody, I pay attention to their name because I know, in my opinion, that is one of the most valuable things that a person owns. And I think most of you will agree. If you've ever been, you know, walking out on the street or in a mall and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, Janice," or "Hey, Ron," "Hey, Maya, how you doing?" And you're like, it makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel like, hey, I'm important. Somebody's remembered me. So I just think that on a film set, get to know everybody's name, like within the first day. Seriously, I don't care if it's a 60-man crew, 60-woman crew. Within the first day, you've got a call sheet. You can be looking at names, and as you're talking to people and doing your work, you're at the craft service table, whatever it is, I tell you, that will put you light years ahead of other people. They'll remember you. This is a story about queuing. I'm not going to mention the actor's name or who he was. It's a legendary story in Hollywood, for good and for bad reasons, I think, now, when you think about it. But it's all about queuing, and that is this famous actor had taken a liking to a young production assistant. And over the lunch period, they went into his trailer and a certain intimate act occurred. The unfortunate thing was that she was wearing her headset, and it cued the entire episode. And the crew that were eating at lunch had their walkies on, and they were like, what? And though they ran out, and as these two walked out of the trailer, everybody was there to applaud because this had happened. I now, in hindsight of telling that story through the years, everybody gets a giggle out of it, but then I asked that question, was it consensual? And so that's a discussion that fortunately, thankfully, is happening very much so on film sets across America and Canada and certainly in Fiji nowadays. But I have to use that initially because that gives you an idea of queuing and the most terrible place that it can certainly happen. Do you have any questions or thoughts or concerns about walkie-talkies? Shall we take a break? Let's take a break because I've been going for over an hour here. Why don't we, I push pause and we come back in 10 minutes? Is that?
I think Maya has a question.
Yeah.
Oh, Maya has a question. Sure, let's have questions first.
So I was reading a book about being a PA on set, and she said to recommend all PAs bring their own headsets to set. So I was wondering if headsets are provided with walkies on set, or if you have to actually bring your own.
They are required on set because if they're open, your walkie's going to go la, 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 la in the middle of a scene and ruin the take. So you always have to have a headset on. The only people on film set that don't have a headset on are makeup and hair artists, although I wish they do, and the really good ones actually do carry them now. For you to have to bring your own isn't something that I've heard of before
Okay.
in all of my years, but I'm old. Maybe things have changed, maybe because they're cheaper. My fear is that how do you know that your jack for your headset is going to fit the walkies that they're renting? Because while I may say that most productions rent this Motorola type, not all do.
Okay, so productions do provide the headset with the walkie.
Yeah, they should. They really should. Yeah, I've never heard of that otherwise.
Okay, thanks.
But hey, listen, if it's a gig and that's the deciding line, go out and buy one. They're 50, 60 bucks, right? But I would ask that question. If you want me to bring my headset, what's the jack look like?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, well, why don't we break for 10 minutes? Can we do that? And then we'll come back. I've got a time of 7:09 or 7:10, so at 7:20 or whatever time that is for you. I'll just push pause. Okay. Resume recording. I'm going to share the screen. Oh man, this stuff is amazing. Technology. Oh my, yeah. This used to be, so I started teaching this course for SMPIA in 2005. I think I mentioned that yesterday. And there was 2 sections. There was a Friday night and a Saturday for set protocol and etiquette. And then Sunday was safety. And then we kind of merged them all into one. And now what I have is a section on safety that's addition with COVID, because it's pretty incredible what we're living through right now. And I'd be curious, those of you that have been on film sets or are going on to film sets, what you've heard. Let me give you what I've heard and what I know in terms of the regulations coming to or in place here in Saskatchewan. They're probably fairly similar to what you're experiencing, but we'll get into that. So that's what I want to talk about here. I want to certainly get you familiar with what you're kind of personally responsible for with film set safety, what you can expect the producers to be responsible for, right? And then what all of us are supposed to be doing during stunts and firearms and explosives and that kind of thing. Yeah, so this is etiquette as well.
Hey, Kenny, I see a white box over top your slideshow. Over on the right. There. Okay, it's gone now. It's all good.
Awesome.
Now it's back. I don't know if that's... Do other people see a white box over his slideshow?
I see it too.
To the right.
Yeah, it's to the right. Yeah, that's, yep, that was it.
Wow. I got you. How's that?
That's better.
But now I can't see any of you guys. Hold on, I'm going to try this again. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'll do this. Now I can see you. Okay, I'm going to do it like that. Now I can see you. I'm going to push you in. This is so amazing, this technology. Here. Okay. Okay, so back, I think it was in February. I want to say it was 2015. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. This incident occurred, and it was kind of like the, in the powder keg, the last straw that broke the back, whatever phrase you want to use, for workplace safety and for we as crew not speaking up. This incident, and ever since then, crew members now do not feel shy, and they stand up when there's safety issue that they're not comfortable working in. So for those of you, I'm sure there's many of you, if you put up your hands, I can see you. How many of you know who Sarah Jones is and what she's in? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So those of you that don't, I'll run through this story. It's a good refresher, and it's good to hear. So Sarah Jones was 27. She was a young camera assistant working her way up in Georgia. Her family lived in Savannah. She worked a lot in Atlanta because it was starting to boom in late 2010, 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. And so she got on a show called Midnight Rider, and it was a film about the Allman Brothers Band, the greatest band that ever lived, in my opinion. Thank you very much. From Macon, Georgia. And they were filming what we call in pre-production a mini crew, like just pre-shoots. So just a small crew will go out, one makeup artist, one hair artist, maybe maybe a gaffer and a grip, maybe an extra guy. Small kind of crew goes out. And this particular scene, this is the actual one-liner from the incident. It's this scene at the top, exterior train trestle. Greg Allman sees the ghost of Dwayne on the opposite side of the bridge. And so take your time with this story, Google it, find out more about it. What, in a nutshell, had happened was the production company is in charge of safety, right? And so when they rented this train trestle or got permission to film on it, well, they didn't get permission, and they told the crew that they had permission. And even the location manager, who's responsible and in charge of this, and he's a friend of mine, I know him, he said they did not. He didn't give permission for them to be on it, and behind the backs of certain people, the crew went or were told to go. I'm not going to get into the minutia of it, but at the end of the day, a young woman got killed when a train came onto the tracks, and it was Sarah Jones. And because of this incident, our industry has certainly changed. And you'll still see this on slates today, that we're all here for Sarah Jones. And you'll see a rest in peace Sarah Jones on the clapboard up there. We honor her. And so it's been an incident that everybody's familiar with, and I want you to be familiar with it, because oftentimes you'll hear from a mad director, you'll hear from a mean first AD who just wants to go, go, go. You'll hear these kind of comments, right? It's only a curb lane. What's the big deal? Well, 5 people out in the road is a big deal, right? Just 3 people and a camera will be in and out before anybody notices. And then, this one's just, we'll hear a train before it gets to us. Well, there's 2 minutes to get off a train trestle with 15 people. It ain't easy. And a camera being hauled by a girl that's 150 pounds, right? So that's just sort of the sampling of the pressure that you might experience. You might have earlier. Now I'm hoping that you don't as much. If any of you have stories to share, share them with us on Facebook or in the chat, and tell me if you feel safer nowadays. I love Natalie Portman. I followed her career. I've stood up to producers before, and even a director. A lot of people on set are scared to say stuff when they're not being treated right. Yeah. This was this is an incident. Police in Ohio say a guy was shot in the leg, right? And it was a student film. Of course, they kind of say that in there. And one actor didn't realize it was an actual gun, and he fired it, and the bullet struck one of the movie makers, who was the data guy that he was loading footage into the laptop. And he's okay and everything. But I'm just telling you, when it comes to weapons on a film set, they're called weapons specialists for a reason, and they should be doing one thing and one thing only: not talking, not eating, not going to the bathroom, but minding their weapons, because that kind of an incident can happen. When it comes to safety on a film set, especially when there's stunts and special effects, we're all going to have a safety meeting. This one here is from Chicago Fire. But we'll put up a grip stand, we'll put up some whiteboard, and the assistant director, the DP, and the director will walk through, and probably the stunt coordinator and the special effects person will walk through with a Sharpie, and draw the set and when things are going to happen and how it's going to happen, so that everybody's on board. And these meetings can go on for like 20, 40 minutes, and you could have 3 or 4 a day. In theory, you should have one at the beginning of the day. A good first AD, in my opinion, would have one at the beginning of the day, just to tell people, where the exits are, where the bathrooms are, where craft service is, where the set medic's set up, that kind of stuff. We're looking out for ourselves now more and more as crew, right? We once thought that we were disposable, and you feel that in the freelance business, right? Oh, somebody will replace me. There's a million people that's going to replace me. Well, not so much anymore. You should be not fearful. Dress for the weather. You're responsible for, your own protection. So you can't go to the wardrobe truck, is I guess what I'm trying to get at, and ask for a raincoat. They don't supply that to the crew. So dress for all kinds of weather. Look at your call sheet. Now we have these iPhones, so you can look at the weather apps. This was a friend of mine who worked on Lone Ranger in Utah. And this was the beginning of the day. They had snow on the ground. And by 4 o'clock, it was like 100 degrees out with sand all over the place. So, you know, be mindful of that. In the trunk of your car, I listed it yesterday on a slide, pack everything, right? Pack the rain gear, pack the snow gear, pack extra socks, extra shoes. Again, safety for yourself. You've got to look after yourself. This is a typical day, I guess, for real people. They do 8 hours of work and then that's a typical day. But, you know, those of us in the industry, it's not uncommon to work 18-hour days, 16-hour days. The longest day, I know a friend of mine in Vancouver, he mentioned it to me, it's 34 hours. 34 hours on a film set. So yeah, if you're incredibly exhausted and tired, maybe mention that to your key of your department. And, you know, if you need a day off just to rest, it's unheard of, but not unheard of, right? You pick your battles. There's a setmatic on set. And I show this for those of you that are interested in getting in the business. And you're like, Kenny, what's another, you know, entry-level position? Well, entry-level, and not this is an entry-level. This is like you're the head of the department. There's usually one setmatic on every single film show. Sometimes in Canada, it's the craft service. That's why in Canada, it's FACS, First Aid Craft Service, is how they're tagged. But in the States, you'll always have a separate individual who will be the setmatic. And so they're the ones that you want to make sure know about your allergies. And the production, when you fill out your deal memo, you'll have emergency numbers listed, and he or she will get a copy of that. Yeah, you know. Certification. If any of you, you know, you're trying to open another door, you're trying to put another feather in your cap, these kind of certificates will do that for you. If, you know, I mean, don't get a food handling certificate if you're interested in blowing stuff up, right? I mean, pick your certification, but all of that looks incredible on a resume because, you know, in the film industry, we're hiring tradespeople, we're hiring artists, we're not hiring people with degrees, we're hiring people with skills. That we as production, as the producers, what we look after for your safety, or you hope to God we do, and if we don't, make sure you mention it. You know, you film like Brenda was saying, she films a lot of apocalyptic shows now, and that's her favorite genre. Well, you're filming those kind of shows in old abandoned buildings, and it's our locations manager up here in Canada, at least, that team that makes sure that it is, if it's a sick building, that we unsick it, right? That the construction team comes in and supports it stronger. They get rid of any asbestos, whatever needs to happen. Water quality is looked at on the movie Thin Red Line. I remember that the guys had to drink, the actors had to drink out of a pool of water in the jungle. And the pond that Terrence Malick had chosen, we had to get sent to the lab, water test. And it came back that it was, you know, full of giardia or whatever's in water that makes you really sick. But he really wanted that site. And so I remember we jerry-rigged it, right? We had the guys, we just filled water into their hands and then rolled camera and made it look like they were coming up with clean water. But so we look for things like ice thickness. If we're going to have a crew on the ice, you know, producers, production, we make sure that we get somebody out there to test the thickness of the ice and tell us how much it can hold, how many bodies, how much weight. Air quality, we have the set medic, et cetera, et cetera. So safety-wise, be aware of that. We'll hire a site rep too, right? So if you rent out your home to us to film in, you're the site rep. We need somebody there to tell us where to turn stuff off and on. And that's safety related. Pets and children. Oh, you know, we all love them. We all love them. When they come on the set, the little puppy dogs come on the set and everybody's just kind of like, oh, cutesy little puppy dog, cutesy little puppy dog. And that actor or actress of a dog is now going from the state of mind that its trainer had put it in, walking into set, and now it's all frazzled and crazy because as a crew member, we thought it's a cutesy little dog. It's something to be mindful of. And with children, hey, the same thing. It's just cutesy little kid. And they, one thing I would highly recommend when you're working with kids is to figure out what their favorite foods are, figure out what puts them over the edge, what puts them to sleep, and make sure that the craft service person knows that. And when I say you, I mean in the AD department, the cast person that's looking after the cast, that kind of stuff is really good to know. This is a great show I did in Missouri. It was actually the second show I'd ever done. I'd finished that the Thin Red Line. I was on an airplane, headed back to Canada, and I opened up an Us magazine, or People, something like that. I don't even know if it was around anymore. But in it described this town in Missouri that had been taken over by a production company and converted into an 1873 Wild West town. And I was like, where? And they were filming in Pattonsburg, Missouri. And so I called up the assistant director that I just worked with for the first time ever. I said, hey, you know, I'm new to this business. How do I get a gig? I don't know how to get a gig. What's this show? Do you know anything about it? And she said, you know, Kenny, your timing is unbelievable because I just got a call from the second AD on that show. He was calling me to find out how I got 1,000 extras through the works. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, props. Because he has 1,000 extras, except they got horses too. How you know. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, hey, did you meet any great PAs over there? Because I'm in Pattonsburg, Missouri, and there ain't anybody here that's ever worked on a film set before. And so she gave him my number. She said, you know, again, I got my first job based on luck, my second job based on my reputation. She gave him my number. He called me up. I got in my little truck on a farm outside of Saskatoon, and I drove for a day and a half and got down to Pattonsburg, Missouri, and I showed up on his office. I said, my name's Kenny Chapman. You said you'd hire me. He was like, oh, okay, I guess you want the gig. Right? I mean, I'm fortunate because I'm a Yank and a Canadian. I'm an American and a Canadian. So I can go across. Well, not anymore because COVID. Anyways, but when it comes to safety, I wanted to share this with you. There was a scene where the bushwhackers, which are the Southerners, they ambushed the Yankees, which are the Northerners, during the Civil War. And so for us to create this battle, we had this big open field. We had the Yankees coming across one side, and then the bushwhackers, they jumped off their horses, ran into the bush, and they were firing their guns at the Yankees as they came across the field. You can see we got a dolly track there in front. The girl in the green pants and white shirt, that was her first day on the job as a PA in the camera department. She worked for us as an AD in the AD department. She was like, I ain't going for this. I'm tired of this admin stuff that you guys do. And she really wanted to work as a cinematographer eventually in her life, or even as a producer. And so she started the next day working for free, and then they hired her to work as a PA. Anyways, she's now a producer, really good too. And then you can see on the corner of this slide, you can see the stills photographer on his knee taking photos, and then you can see the camera and all the guns are going off. My point in terms of safety, this is the guys coming across the field. When it comes to safety, the production assistants, myself included, were sent out 3 days before this was filmed with pails and shovels to fill in all the gopher holes, yeah? Because of the horses that are going to be running across. And unfortunately, one of those gopher holes didn't get filled. It was impossible to fill them all. But you still want to take responsibility for this one. So when they started filming this, as in any production, the stunt people in an action sequence like this, the stunt people are at the front, and then the extras are, we call them reenactors that have their horses and their stuff. They're behind the stunt performers. And the stunt performers are going across the field. You can see the cameras there and the cranes. As they're going across the field, here they come across the field, they're firing their guns. And one of the stunt performers, his horse, hit a hole and fell and broke her leg immediately. And when she fell and broke her leg, she fell on top of him. And when she fell on top of him, she immediately, like, her weight broke his collarbone. And another stunt performer who saw what was going on, because they're all looking, right? They're pros. They're doing their action and they're watching each other as they're going across this field. He jumps off and he puts his hand over top of the horse, who's, you know, baying back and forth, and he keeps firing his gun. And he's talking to this guy. Now, this guy knows how much money and time it's taken to create all of this. He's broken his collarbone. There's nothing he can. It's painful, yeah, but there's nothing. So we keep, like, you keep filming, right? You keep filming, you get the shot. And then I mentioned, I think yesterday, when it comes to stunts and special effects, everybody's dead quiet. The stunt coordinator says cut, not the director. It's a stunt coordinator who's choreographed this, says cut. And the stunt coordinator runs in. and then, you know, in this particular case, the horse had to be put down, taken away, and of course the gentleman had to be taken away in an ambulance. And it's all because of one little gopher hole that got missed by a production assistant who was getting paid minimum wage. Yeah, it's a sad story, but that's the truth. Yeah. So anyways, so when it comes to safety, don't think because you're the lowest on the totem pole that you can't make a big difference in the most negative way possible. Well, what a cool show to work on. If any of you are into horses, I'm telling you, put that on your resume. Westerns, right? It's just quickly, so that tells you a little bit of safety about some of the things that you're responsible for. This is Moby Dick, and this is another story about a PA and his responsibility for safety. I did this show over in Malta. It was shot with, Ethan Hawke was his name, Gillian Anderson, who did X-Files, Donald Sutherland, Charlie Cox. We had a great cast. Anyways, we filmed it over in Malta. And these were we filmed it there because they had deep pools. So the little tiny round pool there is the deep, deep pool. And then the bigger square one with the thing in the middle, that's the shallow tank. And you can see that big dark mark in that one big pool there. That's where we had an arm that went in the water and it grabbed our ship and it could move it back and forth and all this kind of stuff. You can see there's a road that goes around there, this tank. I'll give you another shot here. Kind of the reason why we filmed here, this Moby Dick movie, is so we could have this horizon, right? You as an audience member would think that we're out at sea. This isn't a real whale, of course. This is just our plasticine whale. It's full of 5-gallon drums, and the artists have created it. And in Moby Dick, we're whalers, right? We go out and we kill whales and cleanse them and all of that. But that gives you an idea of why we're there. Now, what I wanted to tell you about regarding safety, this was the boat that we were filming on. So when we're out at sea in the Mediterranean Sea, those other boats that you see around us there were our flotilla that floated behind us in case the ship went down in the middle of the sea. But for safety reasons, why I'm showing you this is we had a production assistant every morning at 5 a.m. in the dark. As the cast and the crew boarded the ship, he would have a sign-in sheet that I, as the second AD, created from the night before of who's going on that ship. And then he'd keep track of who's on and who's off. At the end of the night when we docked, he would check that off as well. And you'd have people coming and going to that ship with what are called ribs, which you see in the bottom corner of that shot, those little blow-up dinghies. And they would have to jump from that rib onto a ladder and climb the ship in. Anyways, I'm getting aside from myself. My point is we built, oh shoot. Well, now why is this here? Well, I'll get back to that story. My apologies. I'll get back to that story. We'll talk about COVID and then I'll get back to that. This is what Don Bird has created or has been a part of creating with SMPIA and other organizations in terms of what's going to be required in Saskatchewan with COVID. And I wanted to share this with you, and I can certainly email you this document if you're interested in it, because it'll probably be quite similar in your jurisdiction, wherever you're watching this from. But a few things about it struck me as interesting to read. This one here is productions must hire professional safety compliance officers. So there's going to be somebody on set from now on who will look after or make sure that people are, masking and going out for air and social distancing and providing PPE equipment. So there's another entry-level position, right, in a way. Maybe you have some medical experience. That might help too. Here are a couple other things that I thought were interesting. Light switches being taped. That kind of makes sense. You can all read this, yes? Yes. Work schedules. This will be interesting. Work schedules must be staggered to reduce the number of workers required at one time. So your department will work at a time while the others are sitting around and then back and forth. That'll be interesting to see how that works. Craft service, for those of you that haven't worked on a film set yet. We are looking at an era where we used to have a very communal space where we would all sit and chat, or not sit, but we would graze and we would talk, or we would go outside and eat something from the craft service table. And so that's no longer, as you can see by this, that the meals themselves will be fed to us at our trucks, if we're a techie at the grip truck or crafty truck or the props truck. So that's interesting. I find that changes things a bit. Even here in this document, I'll tell you if you're interested in hair and makeup, how that's going to change, how wardrobe's going to change. So it's a great document to have safety-wise. And I'm happy to share that with you if you're interested in it. So what did we learn there? A little bit about health and safety, about crew members. We learned about cute little dog. The action I'd like you to take, go out and spend $100 and get your first aid certificate or something, right? Improve your trade skills is I guess what I'm saying. I went out and I got an ATV certificate. I didn't know you needed a certificate to use an ATV, but you can get one. Hey, it's another thing on my resume that looks pretty cool. So that's another little action for you to take. And when it comes to being a Dutch uncle, I tell you this, without a word of a lie, don't say no anymore, right? Know when to say no. Know that there's no fear anymore, that your personal safety is a priority, and production companies are very well aware of it now. And you're not going to be seen anymore as a difficult person to work with. So this is where I was going to conclude this silly story. When we went on to that big pool that I was talking about, the shallow one, we had to make a second boat. The first boat was out at sea, was actually down at the docks getting its masts changed by the art department so they could change it. You can see the bottom picture there where the sails are all nasty. Well, our ship was going through a storm sequence in the story. And so out at sea, you can see the top photo, and then we went to the photo beside it where the green screen is wrapped around the pole that's going to snap. And you can see the water that's spraying up on that boat. That's our 3/4 size ship that's in that pool that's got that motivator arm underneath it that's doing this to it, shaking it back and forth. You can see our actors in that bottom corner there. They're struggling to hold on back and forth like that. Now, to shoot that too, we also had, you can see the stanchions in that one photo where the water's coming from. But underneath the water, about a foot underneath the water, there was these water cannons that would pull water in and go poof and throw it up onto the ship as well. And so for us to do that, which is really kind of cool, is we filmed that one night, that whole sequence like that. And the next, we went to bed, I think at 4 a.m. in the morning, and we were coming back at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So during the early morning and the daytime, the pool crew came in and they moved our big ship off to the side of the pool. So that, because on the next day's schedule, we had certain scenes that involved that section of the pool. And this particular scene that we had was where we had Ethan Hawke and we had Charlie Cox and William Hurt. If any of you aren't familiar, William Hurt is in his 60s. He was then. He's probably in his 70s now. He was playing Captain Ahab. Just an incredibly interesting human being. He was playing Captain Ahab, so he was in that boat. We had our special extras that could actually row. They were in that boat. And what the sequence called for was a thing called Nantucket Sleigh Ride. And maybe we made that up as filmmakers, I don't know. But when you throw a harpoon into a whale doesn't dive. It just keeps going along the surface and pulling as hard as it can to get that out of it. Well, when you have a boat that weighs like 10,000 pounds with those bodies in it, eventually it tires out and then the seamen row up to it and then kill the whale and then haul it back to the ship. So we had to recreate this scene where the cameras can see the boat taking off. And we couldn't do it on rough water out in the ocean. So we did it in a controlled environment, this pool. And so we put the guys in the boat and we put the cameras on the floor on the deck of the pool. And on the other side, you can see there's a line that went from the boat under the water, a wire under the water and over the lip where that road was. And we had a guy there in a car, right? And that was Keith. Keith White. Now, he was our production assistant and he shouldn't have been driving the car. And I don't know why our stunt performer gave him the gig, but that wire's over the pool edge. There's an eye there that holds it, and then it's onto the car, onto the ball hitch at the back of that car. And Keith is going to take off, and that boat's going to go across like that, right? And Keith has got to walk in, we got to walk in, so we're good, right? Nothing could go wrong. But the unfortunate thing is that crew that moved the boat off to the side during the day and moved all the stanchions away, they left one of those water cannons under the water. And so when Keith took off like that, or yeah, when Keith took off with his car and the boat went across, we you can't see that because it's a foot under the water. We're standing there watching everything, and then all of a sudden that boat hits this underwater cannon and just flies into the air and splinters. Now these rowboats, we built them in Canada and shipped them on containers. Took 3 months to build these things and anyways, and this thing splinters into a million pieces, and we're watching our actors, our lead actor, who's in his mid-60s, fly through the air. And we've seen all of our background performers and Charlie Cox, and it's just like dead silence. And it's like, boom, like they're hitting the ground hard, hey? Hitting the ground hard, hitting it hard. And then it's just dead silence all around. It was incredible. The energy was, because, and then we're waiting, and then sure enough, slowly, people start popping up. People start popping up. And it's like, oh, and then they start coming to the shore. And I remember when William Hurt came to the shore, he was climbing up the ladder, and I knew William quite well. We got along very well. We'd hang out on our weekends and such, and I approached him. I said, William, are you doing okay there? What's going on? And he kind of staggered a bit. He's like, who are you? I'm like, come on, William, it's Kenny, you're second AD. How you doing? He's like, who are you? And I'm like, oh God, like medic. And yeah, so we had to take him away too. And I'm sure he had some sort of concussion or something like that. My point to all of this is know when to say no. Know when the job that's being offered you is possibly out of your job description. Do you have any questions, or can you have questions for me so I can take a drink of water? No.
Speak up if you have a question.
Maybe you don't. I can go on. We're going to end early tonight. We might end early, certainly. Okay. Well, I hope I made my point there about safety with COVID and with what you're responsible for. And, you know, even little things, you guys, like when there's ice forming outside of a trailer, you tell the locations and they'll come and put salt on it. Like, you've always got to be cognizant and aware and thinking beyond, thinking outside the box for other people. So let's look at resumes. It's our final little section. Let's look at resumes and how to present them in the film industry. And we're going to look at interviews, how to get through interviews, how to find a job, that kind of stuff. So this is about being paid, right? And so when it comes to the order of being paid, these are steps that you kind of want to take. When you find a location, first off, when you want to introduce yourself, you're going to create a cover letter, like we all do. You're going to create a film-friendly resume. I'm going to give you these templates. And I'll email you these templates. And then you're going to drop it off with the different productions. You're going to put an actual hard copy, because if they have an office open, that's how you know that they have an address. You'll have found their address in a production rag, and I'll share that with you in a minute. But you'll drop off a hard copy at the front desk. And you're going to snail mail in a copy of your resume. You're going to email in if you got an email address, because you want to hit them as many times as you can, because there's a million people behind you that want the gig as well. You're going to follow up and call their office. You're going to try and schedule an interview. And this is with whatever department, right? So here's how you find where jobs are. Now, the thing is with these production rags is they cost money. They cost a lot of money. And a lot of people in the industry who have a subscription, thankfully, will share it with their friends. And so I get these sent to me from friends. And I'm more than happy to share them with you if you're interested. And I'll send you certainly the current one that I have if you're interested in an email when this is done. But they look... they cost oftentimes $400 to $500 a year, which is a lot, US. But these are some of the types. This is what they look like. You know what I can do for you, if I just go out of that screen and hide that, I think you can see my screen. I'm going to find downloads here for us. Downloads. Oh God, sorry. Now I can't. Oh, I think this would be interesting to see. SMPIA, there it is, downloads. I want to share with you what one of these rags look like. I think I'm still sharing my screen. There, can you folks see that? Thumbs up, anybody? You can't see the productions thing? Resume share. Oh, sorry, there we go. How about now? Can you see now? Thumbs up? No?
No,
Production
you'll see the cover letter.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Look at me. Holy moly. Holy
There you
moly.
go.
There you go. Look at that. Okay, so this is a production rag. You read it there. It tells you where the. Let's find one that's. There's one in Ontario, Canada. Okay, so everything goes to Atlanta right now, but there's a big, long-winded one. But in them, you'll find the office phone number. You'll find there it is, the Aretha 03. So every production company, when they're formed, the first thing a production coordinator will do is grab that Gmail handle, and that's where the resumes will go to, right? And a phone number, where it's filming, the status of it. Well, we'll see later that sometimes they have a more in depth, who the director is, etc. The cast is, but there's the different addresses, what the story is about. It's a feature film from Toronto. They're filming that in Atlanta and Toronto. The Walking Dead, October 2020 in Sonora, Georgia. A lot of things in Sonora, Georgia. Look at that. Okay, so you get the point there. I'll stop that share, and I'll go back to crossing that off, and I'll go back to this thing, and I'll go back to this. Now, wait a second. You have to see this. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Huh? Voila. Voila. Oops, sorry. I'm going to move you guys out of the way. Okay. Okay. So, am I good?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yeah, I can hear you. And I see your cover letter slide.
Thank you. So, here's a cover letter. You don't have to write one. I'll send this to you as a blank document, and you can just plug it in. I do recommend that you write down that you took this training, because I've been doing it for 15 years, and it's recognized. People know who we are and what we do. I wanted to share with you the templates that I have for you to fill out when it comes to a resume, and I'll send this to you as a doc, not as a PDF, so that you can plug in your information, and then if you want, send it back to me in that doc so that I can play around with it, not as a PDF, right? This is so as somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience. These all kind of follow a certain format that we're used to seeing in the film industry. It's quite different than what I think you might expect in the real world, so to speak. But here, I've got my name, I've got the position I'm applying for, production assistant in whatever department that might be. I've got the city that I live in. I've got my phone number. I got my email address. Again, I don't have my personal address in there because I don't want any stalkers or weirdos. I've got my city that I live in so that the production company knows, okay, I'm going to hire local. They're from Phoenix. And then this person doesn't have a lot of experience, no, but they've got some. It shows that they've got an interest in the film industry. They've got technical skills. They've listed the productions that they've worked on, other work experience, so that I can read that and go, you know, I don't have a position in the craft service department for a PA, but I do in the whatever department, catering maybe. And then your references are on the bottom. And that's kind of a standard entry-level resume. As you get more experience, the experience kind of shows more than the words, right? You just kind of list the names of the films that you've done, the position that you had, and who your supervisor was. That supervisor part's important because somebody's going to hire you because they're like, oh yeah, I worked with John Malia, or I worked with Penny Vamp. I'm going to call him up and see if this Kenny Chapman guy's any good. But it also shows me that you must be because you've been hired a number of times. Still though, I don't have a full resume like that, so I list my work experience, my education, my skills, and same thing at the bottom, I've got 3 references, possibly a character reference, somebody that talk to that person about my character, somebody that could speak on my work ethic, somebody that can speak maybe about my personality, you know, think about that, or my skill set. This is a resume that's kind of like mine. I I should update it, but it's very common in the industry. It's very plain looking, but it holds a lot of information. And clearly, somebody could look at this in 3 seconds and know that I'm being asked to work as an AD. So this just lists the shows I worked on, the positions I had, where they were shot, and who the director was. Now I put in there myself where it was shot, because you put yourself into a slot, right, that you can shape. And my slot was I want to be the assistant director that they hired to go out of town, to go on location, to go on foreign places to shoot, because that's pretty cool. So that's why I listed the cities where I lived. So, any questions regarding those 3 formats? Did I go too fast?
Yeah, I have a question about, with regard to sending your resume, is the local film office a good place to send it as well? I thought I heard somebody from the film office one time say that they can put you in touch with the local productions.
There is, Brett. There's a database now. Most of it's digital, not so much. Yeah, your resume is digital more so than it is hard copy, in the respect that you're going after with the film office. They're not going to keep a stack of resumes. It'll be digital, and it'll be in their database. So you're in Maryland, so if you go on the Baltimore, Maryland Film Office website, they've got the database, and I would just reach out to them, and then you could send them an electronic copy of your resume. I don't know what position you might be looking for, but then they can slot it in. But of course, they have requirements. They're not just going to let any Yahoo, put their name up on the database. This community of ours in Saskatchewan, which was so wonderful back in the day, between 2005 and 2012, it was mandated that every person that was going to work on a film set had to take this course. And so that was really cool. And I didn't realize it until afterwards, not the power that I had, but the influence I had, because you would see people doing things on our crew that I was like, oh, they were listening that day in class, right? They turned their back, they crouched down, whatever it was. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I had another question. Can we get a copy of that big chart you showed yesterday of all the positions and where all the entry-level ADs?
Yeah, the flow chart. The flow chart, yeah, absolutely. And in addition, the small pitch is that this is all in that book too, the production assistant book, and it's laid out like that too. But I can certainly send that to you too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Many of the film commissions, or a lot of them at least anymore, will have a film crew database lots of times. So even if you don't know that a certain production is coming, check with film offices, film commissions, any kind of active film group in your community, because a lot of them will keep a database, and it's often divided by department or type. So if a production's coming into town, that's kind of the first place they might go to and say, do you know where there's any PAs or any grips? So if you can get in that database and keep it updated, that gives you a step up a little bit more than just cold calling and sending your resume.
So thanks, Barbara. So anything else? It's a big topic. We can go on. There's more to this. So a couple of things to consider putting on your resume if you're new to the business, right? Or things about yourself that are good to know. Oops, I got to close this one little button because I can't see anything. I close that and put it way over there, and I'm going to go back to here. So your resume, when you email it when you get the email address for the production company, they might give you the email address, say, for the key grip, or they might give you the email address for the AD department, whatever it might be. Whoever you're sending it to, make sure that when it's in the email that you attach it, right? And you also attach it in the body so that a person can scroll down and see it instead of having to click download and wait, and then if they want to print, they have to print it. They got to go across the hall to the printer to get it. But you're just easing the work, the flow of it. So attach it as well. And usually if you attach it as a JPEG, it's going to show there. I think we all know this now. But also what I say when you're handing in your resume, slap it at the front desk, right? A hard copy is always good for them to have too. The reason I put there, production assistant in the position, grip department or crafting department, in 3 seconds, that person's going through a million resumes. They want to know which pile to throw it into. That will serve you well to do that. Make sure your font is the business font, whether it's Garamond or Times New Roman or Arial, the common ones. They don't have to be funky kind of fonts. That whole section I had at the bottom of these resumes where it said references, asking me, the person you're giving your resume to call you to get references. And I have to sit there and wait while you go find them on the phone. And then, or I have to write, you know what I'm saying? Like, take that step out of it. Put them at the bottom. And hey, here's a really good tip. Well, I probably have it in here, the slide somewhere, but call those people that you're asking to be your reference, or have a friend call them. Excuse me, have a friend call them to see what they actually say about you. That could be interesting. Your cell phone number and your address. Make sure that's on the cover letter and it's on your resume itself, because one is going to get lost and you're the one they want to hire, and shoot, they don't know how to contact you. List, of course, the people that you worked for, because it's that kind of nepotism kind of business. If you have a film degree, that's really cool. It tells me that you worked hard and you got a degree, but it doesn't really put you above any other person that might have a lot of skills, a lot of trade skills, or whatever it might be, or a lot of experience working in independent films. So I want to see kind of both, right? It's good that you've earned the degree, it shows focus, but add every other little gig that you've done on there. Don't think that because you have a film degree, that gives you a ticket into the industry, because often it does not at all. Consider eliminating from your resume. And when I say that, I mean in terms of working on the crew. Eliminate from your resume your objective. I mean, I don't, as an AD or whatever position I'm in, I don't really care if you want to be a director or a famous actress or whatever it might be. It's not. You're applying to be on the crew in this department. That's what you're getting hired for. Your photos and your personal information. If you put photos of yourself on your resume, or you put your personal, I mean, that's just asking for it, right? And so I just rip up any kind of resume that I have a photo on, because it's asking to be charged with hiring somebody based on race or sex or whatever. So eliminate that from your resumes. Eliminate a second page. You saw my resume there, and that was one page after 23 years. I mean, after a while, stuff goes off the end of the page that it doesn't matter anymore. I'm speaking, of course, from an AD perspective. Different departments, like the art department, would probably want to see a portfolio. But when it comes to your resume, it's got to be really short and concise. Oh, I have the sciatic nerve issue. Man, alive, these things hurt. So where should you apply? I don't care if you're in a small little tiny town in the middle of nowhere. You are always going to have a production community, because there are businesses and there are people that need their weddings taken video. There's documentaries to be made. There's industrials to be made. Like if you have a campus, a school, we all have schools, right? They all have little drama productions or film production. Get on those. You just want to get experience in any way, shape, or form. And it's easy to. It's easy. When people say it's so hard to get in the film industry, it is not hard to get in the film industry. Not from my perspective. Yes, I got lucky, but there's a million people that have gotten lucky. Lucky being you're in the right place at the right time. You had, you knew you had your chops. Yeah. Oops, I've already showed this to you. Well, I did this one already. Anyway, so that's what the production thing looks like. How to address an email. If you're sending an email to somebody, and I can send this to you as well, or take a screenshot of it. But it's short and sweet. It tells the person exactly what I need, what I'm after, how to reach me. So yeah, I'm going to do that for you. And you're going to take a stab at it, and you're going to send it to me, and I'll refine it for you, and I'll send it back. There it is. If you want my email address, they go straight to me, filmseminars@icloud.com. But wait until I send it to you. Please don't send me your resume as it stands now. I don't want to mess with it. I'll mess with the template that you fill out. Is that cool? Just a piece of advice that when you make that email address up in Gmail or wherever, make it professional. it's really cool if you can put your name and your email address, because that tells the receiver, right? And we get a ton of emails when production starts and everybody in town is excited to work on the show. If your name is there, I know who it's coming from. But if it's Shadow the Hedgehog 77, and yeah, I don't know who, I'm going to just throw that into my junk mail. So it's kind of important that respect. Also, if you're a university film student, you're going to have a university email tag, right? But that's going to go away once you graduate. You'll never use it again. So don't provide that on your resume. Don't provide that to me if you want to hear more about these seminars. Give me an address that's a Gmail or a Hotmail or something address, because that one, of course, is going to go dead if you're a student. That's resumes. Any other questions about resumes? Okay, well, the interview, tell them what you know, what position you think you're best at. That's kind of important. Makes you look like you know what you're talking about. You guys know the lingo now. We've gone through a lot of lingo in this. These are important. If you just can't get out of something, because it's the middle of summer, you got a wedding or something, in the interview, mention that then. Because when you're on a show, you ain't getting off. No, but you become irreplaceable within the first few days. I mean, yeah, okay, you can get fired for silly things, but I mean, for legit things. But for the most part, when you're on a show, you're on a show. And so to bring in somebody else to replace you, there's got to be a lot of download in any position that you're in for that individual to actually be of use on the film set the next day. So let us know ahead of time that you want certain days off and you need certain days off. Know the show as much as possible. Like if you can get your hands on a script, read it so that you can talk with me about the show. How would you do that? You might have friends in the industry that have a copy of it. Know what you can offer, like know my gig. Know the girl that's sitting across the table from you that you're interviewing with. Know what their job is about. You tell me about my job and I'll be like, oh, I can use this person. Like I remember a guy in Idaho told me that he would take my call sheet that I just spent hours poring over with my two beady eyes, and he would go over it with a fine-tooth comb before I handed it out to the crew. And he'd always catch spelling mistakes and Kenny, you missed the actor here. Why isn't the actor in the scene? In my breakdown, the actor's like, oh, okay, right? So he became indispensable to me. And if I was still working in Iowa, I'd hire him every day. Yeah. And dress appropriately, right? Dress appropriately for the interview. So so in my real life, one of the gigs I have is that I'm a painter, right? And I'll put my ad out there on Kijiji or whatever, and I'll tell people I can come in and paint their house. That's the thing about the film industry, right? You have to wear many hats to pay the bills. On downtimes, this is a good gig, painting. It's not that hard. YouTube a video, and then you're a painter. But if I came in to give you a quote on the paint job, and I was wearing this suit, or if I came in to the interview and I was wearing my painting overalls, who do you think you're going to trust in terms of the quote, right? Who do you feel most comfortable with the quote? Is invariably probably going to be the painter, yes? It seems like a no-brainer, but it's the same thing with the film industry. If you come dressed in a three-piece suit and high heels, or, oh, wait, that's weird. Well, you could do that. You know what I mean. If you came all dolled up, I would know that you're not really familiar with our industry. And our industry dresses like this. So like the slide I showed you last night about the clothes to wear on set, similar, except maybe up it a notch or so. Get some really nice pressed cargo pants. Get a nice blouse or business shirt. Wear some nice comfy shoes. There was a Nina Noble, was a very well-renowned producer. The Wire, Treme down in New Orleans, big shows. And she told me this story once of her first experience as a PA, trying to get a job as a PA. And she went to this big building, 5-6 story up. It was hot. It was like 100 degrees out. I can't remember the city that she was in. She had her resume and everything, but she had on these like real high heels. She was really dolled up. She looked awesome kind of thing. And the interviewer, whatever department it was, took her outside. They walked back down the stairs, 6 flights of stairs, and outside into the hot sun. And he and her walked and talked around the building for about an hour. And then when he could see that she was so uncomfortable that her feet were nearly falling off, he said to her, you know, I'm going to hire you. But my initial thought was absolutely not, because clearly you have no idea how the film industry, we don't dress like that. We don't want, so that was a great lesson. And thankfully he taught her that and hired her. And she is, you know, she's incredible as a producer. But that's my point. Wear comfy shoes. Comfy shoes. And questions that you're going to ask in this interview. And it doesn't matter what position you're applying for, which department. If it's the grip department, these apply. If it's a transport department, if you're an extras casting, whatever, all of this applies, because this kind of stuff is going to affect you. You know, I know of ADs that when they read a script and they break it down initially, before they've been hired, they've been just kind of like a hired gun to break it down, which we spoke about yesterday. And then if they're asked if they want to do the show and it's all night stuff, they'd be like, good, pass. Because nights are brutal. Any of you work nights? It's brutal. It's cold outside. The night goes on and on. It's like, oh, it's 2:30. You walk around for an hour, and you look back and it's 2:31. Yeah, but it's good to know this, right? It's good to ask these kind of questions. Are there animals, right? Maybe you're allergic to things. So here's some general etiquette that'll certainly make you stand out in the industry. When it comes to your cell phone, there, you can read that. You've reached Bob Smith. Great message. I'm not available right now, so please leave your name and number, and I'll return your call promptly. Whereas the bad message, which I've heard before, is, hey, it's me, man. You know what to do. Hola. 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 Versus when Jane, this is a good one too. I've had this, hey, Bob, I got your resume. I was wondering if you were available for a PA job during July. Please call me at blah, blah, blah. Oh, this is Bob Smith returning Jane Doe's call about a PA position. I'm available and very interested. My cell phone number is blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Instead of, hey, man, it's Bob hitting you back. July's good. But what's the job pay? I got my cousin's wedding and I need to find someone to look after my chia pet. And the guy who usually does that, he's at the Elk River rave. So hit me back. I've heard that too. So be professional. All of your communication, even your texting, and I know that's hard for those of you that are younger in our audience, those of you that are in your 20s, you have a whole language texting that even I don't understand, but it's so important in this industry to be clear and your communication to be concise, and you don't want it misinterpreted. So no LOLs and that kind of stuff and emoticons. Use full sentences, capitalize, make it little paragraphs if you have to. So that in a nutshell is resumes. You've got an idea of what a film-friendly resume looks like. You know how to ace an interview. You know how to leave a professional voice message, right? That should get you a job. Those things, if you do and tick those boxes off. So that's what I'm going to do for you, right? I'm going to send you that resume template, and you're going to edit it, and you're going to send it back to me. And I say this to you all, and I've done this seminar many times, large audiences, small audiences, usually only 2 or 3 people stick up their hand and fill out the resume and send it back to me. And it blows my mind, because I'm not being whatever. I'm just saying, if I'm a DGA member and I've been in the business 20-some years, I could probably, if I'm giving you a template, very quickly, I could probably make a couple tweaks to your stuff that'll make it, you know, shine even that much more. And that's all it takes to get a gig, right? I've had many people use a resume I've told you about, especially in Atlanta, and they've told me, hey, Kenny, it works. I'm like, wow. Anyways, yeah, so there you go. And in terms of what you wear, right? Think about it. Think about what you're wearing on a set. Because those producers are going to go back to Hollywood, and their friends are going to say, so what was it like filming in Regina, Saskatchewan? Oh, you should see, they're great people, but they've got some really rude people there because of what they're wearing. You know, like every little thing we do here is a reflection of our community and where you are. I just wanted to kind of end with this. This is nothing to do with resumes, really. It's just how I got my gigs, as an example of how I got my gigs, show after show. This is Michael Zimbrick, and he's classic. Last time I heard from him, he was working on Hawaii Five-0 in Hawaii for like years. He did shows way back when, even Monty Python he did, back in the 70s. Great guy, big voice, big man, 6'5". We were doing this show called Runaway Jury in New Orleans, and I was a set PA, so I was on set with him at all times. and most of the times. I noticed that after lunch, Michael would leave set real quickly. And then he'd come back from the craft service table, and this was around Halloween, and he'd have these almond joys or one of these in his hand. And before that would happen, you'd see his hand kind of twitching, and then I'd see him take off. Anyways, I picked up on that. My point to all of this is I went to the craft service lady, and I told her, I said, listen, get a bag of those almond joys, and don't let anybody take them. Michael needs them. And I'm saying this to you because the first AD and the DP, the cinematographer, are usually two individuals that never leave a set. They don't have time to leave the set because there's something always going on that needs their attention. And so I saw this as an opportunity to be unforgettable. I'm not kissing his ass or anything, right? I'm just seeing how I can help. I understand his job. I'm just making it a little bit easier for him. And I remember the next day after lunch, and everybody seems to get a sugar crush. They need something after lunch. And usually about half an hour afterwards. And usually craft service will bring around a tray right into set of candy. And everybody's like, but this particular show, you had to go to the craft service table. Anyways, my point is I got some of those. Michael's standing there on set, half hour after lunch kind of thing. I looked down, I could see his hand jiggling like that, right? And I went behind him and I just slipped one of those in his hand. And he was like, very good. Very good, right? And he didn't have to leave. And I did that for him for the rest of the show. And down the road, Michael's hired me for other shows. And actually, I hired him on a show. But it's just this common, like, looking out for each other. And if you're a production assistant and you're trying to work your way up, those are the kind of things you want to look out for. Be unforgettable, right? Be unforgettable. So a tip when it comes with actors, if you're a cast wrangler, right? They are off on their cell phone. They're talking to their assistant, their boyfriend's there with the kid, whatever it might be. Your job is to make sure that they know that set is ready and they got to come into set. So you have to be firm. They often, like good actors, they always have you. They know what you're doing there. They know why you're standing 10 feet away just pretending to be on your phone as a PA. They know. They're going to look. You're going to go. And they're going to come in. But some of them, they get caught up. And so it's just a good firm tap on the shoulder saying, hey, we're ready for you on set. Oh, this is so important nowadays. I think it's so important nowadays because we walked away from any sort of human touch, right? From being personal with each other. That's why I kind of wanted you in well, it's not my living room, right? It's Ruby's living room. But I always do this at the end of a show. My head of the department will get a handwritten thank you note from me saying, hey, just thanks, man. For the gig, or thanks for SMPIA for hiring me for this thing, right? It's just an added touch that makes you unforgettable and memorable, yeah? These are the top five do's and don'ts I find when it comes to working on set. That big FU means follow up, right? Follow up when you're given a task and report back. Always be early. Always listen to your walkie. I've had that excuse, I didn't hear you, my walkie didn't work. I didn't hear you, my walkie didn't work. Well, here's a new walkie. And then the next day, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, my walkie didn't work. Because you can look over at that person that you're calling and they're talking to somebody. So always listen to your walkie. I've had to fire a number of people because of that. It's sad. But anyways, it's so easy. So this is an easy gig, right? Guys, it's not rocket science. Don't come to work unprepared for the weather. Don't ask for autographs. Never have an open walkie on set. This is totally random. But it's just a Dutch Uncle Kenny trick for you. I was doing Judging Amy in Los Angeles, and we were filming at the old Ambassador Hotel. For those of you that aren't familiar, this was built in the 1920s. It opened up. It had the Copacabana, which was a huge, incredible nightclub. They had like Marilyn Monroe there, and anybody famous was there. Eva Gabor, Walker Leopard. From room to room. Is an incredible place. They took it down in 2005, but I worked there on Judging Amy. We had a couple scenes, but we were filming up in the top floors, and the base camp was down near where the pool was. And so to get an actor, actress, or even extras up those flight of stairs, I couldn't do that. I had to use the elevator, and there was only a certain number of elevators, and it would take forever. So I learned this trick, and I learned this trick from a paramedic. You could try it out. Don't tell them you heard it from me. But if you hit the floor that you're going to, in this case, I'm going down, so I'm hitting the first floor, and you hit the button where the doors close, At the same time, when you hold them down, it'll bypass all the other floors and go straight to your destination. Don't abuse that, but know that that trick exists. I've used it many times. Other people use it and say, hey, Kenny, it doesn't work. Depends on the elevator maybe, but that's just a Dutch Uncle Kenny tip that'll get you to set a little bit faster. This is a cool thing that we do. Often a production assistant will carry on Fridays a Ziploc bag that's been clipped to their side, and another one over here, and they've got a pen in here, and they've got sticky notes in here, and then you give them your $5 bill, they put it in here, you write your name on it, it goes in there, right? And we do that all day long, and sometimes the key gaffer might put in a $20 bill for his crew and just write that on there. Anyways, the point to all this is at the end, when we wrap on a Friday, which is usually a Saturday morning at 3 a.m. in the morning, somebody will reach their hand in, the chosen person, and pull out a name, and that money is yours. I was fortunate. I think twice on Judging Amy, I came home with $600 US on a Friday night. Well, that's huge for a PA that's making $1,000 a week. Yeah, so it's a great, and it's a great thing for you to introduce if your crew doesn't do that. It's really a bonding thing, yeah. So this is what I want you to do tomorrow. For those of you that aren't SMPIA members, become SMPIA members, right? Or whatever commission that is in your area, whatever film organizations in your area. Go on that database we were talking about, right? Locate the film companies through the production rags, do your resume thing, do your follow-up, do all of that tomorrow. It's so easy, right? What else have you got to do? It's COVID time. You got no excuse. Create a Facebook group for your area, whether for its, the Cleveland, Ohio PAs, or Baltimore, Maryland PAs, whatever it might be, because on there you can share, the latest rumors that you've heard. Maybe you can share an address of a production company, and it will come back to you. It'll come back to you. Now, that was a group that was started after this class in Atlanta. Some of you asked how you get in touch with us. Well, those are the handles, and Barbara can speak more to that. Do you care to, Barbara? I mean, we all know how social media works, but
I'm fine. I have put those links in the chat message, and I'm sure that you will put those in follow-up emails. If people want to let us know in the chat what their handle is on social media, that would be great, so we can look them up and follow them. But we're basically Film Crew Trainer across Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So reach out, follow us, we'll follow you. Let us know what you do. If you are having a gig, send us a note, tell us what you're doing so we can share it with people.
Yeah. This was an older page. I mean, this is our Facebook page, but Barbara will put up these incredible banners. I don't know how she does it. The woman never sleeps. But this was for a thing that we did at MSU a year or two ago. Yeah, there's Facebook page. There's the email address again, if you didn't copy it down or take a screenshot of it. Elvis. And then I'm early. I wanted to end somewhat early in case there were questions. So we're getting near the end, but this is what my mother always said to me when I had a big brain idea and I thought, man, this would be cool to take this life path. I've taken a few of them. She'd say, oh, Kenny, shit or get off the pot, right? And I love her for it because I would. And fortunately, because of that, I've done a lot of cool things in my life, I feel. I've done incredible film experiences. Yeah, incredible. This is George Roy Hill. Famous director. People watch luck go by them and they're so blind they never reach out and grab it. For us tonight and yesterday, I think you got a lot of information, and I hope a lot of you feel that you can act on that information. You have contacts now, right? You kind of know how to reach out to people. I wanted to share this with you. This is a great director. I don't know if you know David Mamet, how many of you do, but I had an incredible experience with him on that Spartan movie with Bell. And yeah, I should hang that somewhere. This is what I'm going to see tomorrow. She's a little older than that now, but is she not the cutest red-haired girl in the entire world? Look at that. Look at the joy. So this is why I'm not involved in the film industry so much anymore. The industry here where I live doesn't have a tax credit. But more importantly, because of the hours, I just felt I wanted to spend those hours with my girl, right? And so it was kind of a good thing for me when the film industry lost its credit here in Saskatchewan, because I had to, shit or get off the pot. I had to find another gig and take myself someplace else and earn another income. And part of that was giving presentations like this across the country. But by doing that, I'd be just gone for a weekend, right? And I could always come home and see my little daughter grow up. And that's been, it's been incredible. Painting our nails together. So that being said, I'd like to conclude this by saying thank you guys. I'm so happy so many of you showed up from the first night tonight. Our beginning was a little rough. Well, hey, what an experience that was. Of course, I want to say thank you to SMPIA again. 15 years. This is cool. Let's make it a 16th. And thanks for Dawn and all of her work. I don't know if you guys have any questions.